Sunday Night Football, a massive game with massive playoff implications as the Bills took down the 49ers in a big, big way. 49ers fall to 5-7 now, looking on the outside in at the playoff picture, but we got to start with Josh Allen. The play of the weekend, the passing touchdown and receiving touchdown on the same play, only the fifth player in NFL history to do so, the first since Marcus Mariota famously did it with the Tennessee Titans. Matt, let's start with you. Is he the MVP as it stands right now?
Yeah. So yesterday I was saying I think Lamar Jackson had the best case for it given his numbers. But when you talk about what Josh Allen did last night, what he's done in the biggest games on the biggest stages, just dominating football games. And the play that he made, usually takes one or two plays like this that are memorable, that stand out, that kind of catapult you to the front. I think he's in the driver's seat right now. I really do. Given what Lamar did last night, I think Saquon is nipping at his heels, though. I think Saquon is making one of the strongest cases for MVP. So I got to give a shout out to Nate and Coach Cower, who had both them yesterday on the show, and I was sticking with Lamar. So I think I've changed my tune, though. I think both those guys are in the driver's seat right now.
Matty Ice, you got to understand that this guy Saquon Barkley's got the best. He's got the best group in football, in my opinion. He's got an all-star team. Josh Allen, the complaints we had about this Bills team, the reason that a guy like me so stupidly did not have them on a contenders list at the beginning of the year was because we still had to get to know this group in totality, and Josh Allen has taken this thing and put it on his back. And Mike and I have talked about the offensive line, how they're a strong point for that group, and it showed last night. Explosive runs, Josh Allen able to do the things that we've fallen in love with Josh Allen for doing. In my book, he is the MVP right now, okay? And it doesn't even have to be close, guys.
There's still what, 4 or 5 games left to go, though?
They're getting hot. They're getting hot.
A lot can happen.
I'm going to punt on the MVP conversation because there is. We have time. We can do it week 18, right? But I wanted to ask you, Matt, about something I heard on the broadcast last night. Chris, Mike Tirico were all but saying that the departure of Stephon Diggs has allowed Josh Allen to take much more of a leadership role on this team and basically make it his team. Before, it seemed, they were suggesting that he, deferred to Diggs in a lot of ways, which is normal. He was a guy who, when Diggs came over there, was still young, was still not, established as the franchise quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, and Diggs helped him get to that level. But at some point, and obviously this year, it seems like he's taken a next step in his leadership. Can you describe that sort of relationship in the locker room and how that interplay can lead to maybe a quarterback not taking the biggest role when he has a, quote unquote diva type of number one wide receiver?
Yeah. Listen, I think it's a really interesting time in his career, right? You go from being this young player and then overnight, given the roster changing, you become one of the older guys, the guy that everybody's going to, right? And I remember that in my career. We had a coaching staff change. I was in year 7 and 8, right about where Josh is. Coaching staff changes. A lot of players depart. New players come in, and you're looking around. You're going, "Where's Todd McClure, my center, who was my guy for 6 years? My first 6 years, who was 10 years older than me. Where's Tony Gonzalez? Where are all these other guys that were these veteran players? And then all of a sudden, you're that. And so I think Josh is in that position, given kind of the turnover of the roster. The departure of Steph Diggs, I think that has, part to do with it too. As a young player, you are deferential to the guys who are established in the league, right? The guys who have been doing it for a long time. And I always felt like a quarterback as a young one, you pick your spots. You would pick your spots to kind of give your input. But when it was time on the field, everybody knew who was in charge. And I think we're seeing Josh now. I think he's always been in charge on the field. I think he is now completely in charge of that locker room. Everybody's feeding off of his energy. And the thing I like most is just the way they're spreading the football around. And I think, you can talk about leadership all you want. I think the fact that they're just using different guys, backs out of the backfield, tight ends. Dawson Knox has reemerged the last 3 or 4 weeks with Dalton Kincaid being down. They're showing the depth of this roster. I think that's where the biggest impact has been, just his ability to not worry about trying to force it to one guy, make sure we're going where the coverage dictates, and just trusting guys to do their job.
I saw a really terrible thing last night in that Christian McCaffrey going down midway through that game. He obviously missed the first 8 games of this season with that Achilles injury, but this one reportedly a PCL injury. It was likely the play before. Everyone saw him pull up really lame and question whether it was that Achilles again. No, it was a PCL. No word on the timeline yet for that injury. But if he's out an extended period of time, and if he is going to miss the entire regular season at this point, do we think the 49ers are done? Are they finished at this point, Matt?
Well, time's running out, right? And you look at the way Seattle's playing, gutsy win for them yesterday and the comeback win. You look at what the Rams are doing too. I think this Rams team is kind of maybe sneaky in the driver's seat for the NFC West. I know they're 1 game back, but I just look at how Matthew Stafford's playing, young defensive group that kind of flies around. Experienced championship caliber head coach. He's got that pedigree, championship caliber quarterback. They know what it takes this time of the year. I kind of look at those two in the driver's seat, at least in my opinion, in the NFC West. And honestly, I'd put San Francisco, given how they've played, at the bottom of the NFC West right now. I just think, anything can happen. It's so tight in that division. So I don't want to completely put them, under the ground, but it's to me, you've got teams that are excelling, and you've got a really, really good quarterback, like an all-time good quarterback in that division that I think is playing really well right now.
Mike, when I think about the San Francisco 49ers, I think about a team that's been dealing with death by 1,000 paper cuts since the offseason. I mean, there's certain things that you can push through and figure out as an offense, like who's going to play running back. And we saw Jordan Mason hit his head on the goalpost 6 times in the first 5 weeks. And we said, well, we've got this issue solved. Christian McCaffrey, stay in Germany. But then it's like Ayuk issues, the injury, Trent Williams on a private plane the night before the season starts. It all kind of led to this failed party that was the San Francisco 49ers this year. They get Brock Purdy on the last year of his deal. He's about to be worth a mega yacht next year. So this is the window, and it's been a shame to watch this Niners team fumble the bag. And like you said, Matt, we could have them at the bottom of that division right now with how things are shaking up.
I want to push back on the window thing, though. All right, look at all of the best teams in the league right now. All of them have a massive quarterback contract, right? So you can do it, right? And so I still think they've got a chance. The thing that concerns me with them, at least specifically for this season, is you have guys that typically are reliable and playmakers that are not making plays for you. Fumble by Juszczyk going in. It felt like the air came out of that game last night when he's going into the end zone, fumbles the ball going in. George Kittle, a couple of weird drops, one on the screen, just like atypical plays, from guys that I feel like for so long have been so reliable.
But Matt, you're talking about paying these quarterbacks. You're not talking about Lamar, Patrick, or Josh. I mean, Brock Purdy, a great quarterback. Do not get it twisted at all. But they ain't them. He ain't them. So if you're going to be unloading your treasure chest on this quarterback next year, rightfully so, he's earned it. There's levels to this stuff, Matt Ryan. There's Jared Goff's the most prolific passer in the NFL right now outside of Joe Burrow. God rest the Cincinnati Bengals. But
I think it's a fair argument. I'm saying I love Jared Goff. I love him as a player. But I think given what they mean to their teams, how they play for their teams, I think they're similar.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think it's fair. And the worry that I have, though, with Purdy is weather. This is, you go from the divisional round last year against the Packers when it started raining. He was unplayable. Truly couldn't. They were talking about benching him in that one. 49ers fans were. And then this in the snow, just losing the ball in his
Whopper hands.
His motion. It's like, I'm worried if I'm, and now San Francisco's not known necessarily for bad weather, but I'm worried if I'm going to pay a guy franchise quarterback money and a little bit of rain turns him into a bumbling mess. That's not something that I want to be paying $55 million a year for, even if obviously he's taking big steps forward this year and looks like,
Matty Ice. I didn't say it, Matty. I didn't say it.
But I'm just pushing back on the narrative in general that teams only have this window right now on rookie contract quarterbacks. That is not the case. It is not the case.
I'm the idiot that said that Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills window was closed. So here we go.
And it's also not the case when the organization that they have there in San Francisco, they've drafted exceptionally well in the John Lynch era. They've been uniquely good at finding talent later in drafts. They've obviously, when you have a guy like Kyle Shanahan, you're going to have a consistently good offense year in and year out. So I'm not too worried about San Francisco 49ers, but this season, yeah, stick a fork in that